This is a dramatized story inspired by real debt situations. For educational and entertainment purposes only. Not legal or financial advice.
Hook. I was $340,000 behind on my mortgage and hid every foreclosure notice from my wife for 18 months. The sheriff's sale was scheduled for a Tuesday. My kids had no idea we were about to lose the only home they'd ever known. Reality. My name is David Mercer. I'm 52 years old. I live in Columbus, Ohio, and 2 years ago I was the guy at the neighborhood block party who had the nicest grill, the coldest beer, and a smile that hid the worst financial catastrophe of my adult life. Let me take you back to where it all started. Not with a single bad decision, but with a slow, quiet collapse that took years to build. In 2018, Karen and I refinanced our home. We pulled out $85,000 in equity to renovate the kitchen, pay off some credit card debt, and, I'm not proud of this, to invest in my brother-in-law's landscaping business, which folded in 8 months. Our new mortgage payment jumped to $2,840 a month. At the time, I was making $94,000 a year as a regional sales manager for a logistics company. Tight, but manageable. Then 2020 hit. My company downsized. I went from $94,000 a year to a 28-an-hour contract position. Karen was working part-time at a dental office, making about $31,000 annually. Our household income dropped by nearly $40,000 overnight. Here's what our financial picture looked like by the spring of 2021. Mortgage balance, $287,000. Monthly payment, $240. We were already 3 months behind, which meant $7,020 in arrears, plus $890 in late fees. Credit cards, 4 of them. A Chase Sapphire with $14,200 on it, a Capital One card at $8,700, a Discover card at $6,100, and a Home Depot card at $3,400. Total credit card debt, $3,200 to $400. Minimum payments alone were eating $680 a month. Car payments, 2 vehicles. My F-150, $587 a month with 28 payments left. Karen's Honda CR-V, $421 a month, 14 months left. Combined, $1,008 a month. Medical bills. In late 2020, I had a kidney stone that landed me in the ER for 2 nights. No surgery, but the bill came back at $11,400 after insurance. I set up a payment plan for $150 a month and promptly fell behind on it. Personal loan. I had taken out a $15,000 personal loan from Lending Club in 2019 to cover some of the business investment loss. Monthly payment, $334. Balance remaining, $11,200. IRS tax debt. Here's the one that really kept me awake at night. When I left my full-time job, I cashed out a small 401k, about $22,000, to cover 3 months of mortgage payments. I didn't withhold enough for taxes. The IRS came back and told me I owed $6,800 in federal taxes and penalties. I ignored the first 4 notices. Total debt load when I finally sat down and added it all up on a legal pad on a Saturday night in March 2022, $369,820. Our monthly debt obligations alone were $4,512. Our monthly take-home income was $5,100. That left $598 for groceries, utilities, gas, prescriptions, and anything else life decided to throw at us. There was nothing left. There hadn't been anything left for over a year. And I had told Karen almost none of it. Emotional crisis. The foreclosure notices started coming in the fall of 2021. The first one was a standard breach letter, a legal document the mortgage servicer is required to send before initiating foreclosure proceedings. I intercepted it from the mailbox before Karen could see it. I told myself I'd fix it before the next one came. The next one came 6 weeks later, then a third, then a notice of intent to foreclose. I stuffed every single one into a shoebox I kept on the top shelf of my home office closet behind a stack of old tax returns. I became obsessed with the mailbox. I'd find reasons to be near the front door around the time the mail carrier usually came. If I was at work, I'd text Karen and say, "Hey, can you just leave the mail on the counter? I'm expecting something work-related. I'll sort through it when I get home." She thought nothing of it. Why would she? I was her husband of 24 years. She trusted me completely. That trust felt like a knife in my chest every single day. The collection calls started in January 2022, not just from the mortgage servicer, from the credit card companies, from the medical billing department at Ohio Health, from the personal loan servicer. My phone became a source of pure dread. I'd see numbers I didn't recognize, and my stomach would drop. I started letting everything go to voicemail. Then I stopped listening to the voicemails. Then I got a second phone number just for personal use and let the old number become a graveyard of missed calls. My son, Tyler, is 16. One evening, he walked into the kitchen while I was on the phone with Chase's collections department, trying to negotiate a hardship deferment. I stepped outside onto the back porch, but our house is small. Sound travels. When I came back in, Tyler looked at me and said, "Dad, is everything okay with money?" I looked him in the eye and said, "Everything's fine, buddy. Just a billing mix-up at work." He nodded and went back to his room. But he didn't look convinced, and I walked to the bathroom, closed the door, turned on the faucet, and cried for the first time in probably 20 years. My sleep was destroyed. I'd lie in bed next to Karen, listening to her breathe, and run the numbers over and over in my head like a broken calculator. 2,340 divided by. If I picked up a weekend side job. If Karen went full-time, and say it's if I sold the truck. None of the math ever worked. The numbers always came out the same. We were losing the house. I lost 12 pounds in 4 months. My doctor thought it was stress. He wasn't wrong. I told him work was busy. I was telling everyone everything was fine. I had become a full-time liar to protect everyone I loved from the truth that was going to blow our lives apart anyway. The breaking point came on a Wednesday afternoon in April 2022. I got home before Karen. There was a door hanger from a process server. We had been officially served with foreclosure paperwork. The sheriff's sale had been scheduled. We had approximately 60 days. I sat on the kitchen floor. Not a chair. The floor. And I just sat there until the headlights of Karen's CRV swept across the window. When she walked in and saw me sitting on the floor in my work clothes at 5:30 in the afternoon, she knew. She didn't know the details, but she knew something had broken. "David," she said. Just my name. Nothing else. And I told her everything. Wrong choices. Before I get to what happened next, I have to be honest about the choices I made that turned a bad situation into a catastrophic one. Because I made almost every wrong move available to me. Wrong choice number 1. Payday loans. In the summer of 2021, I took out 3 separate payday loans totaling $2,100 to cover 2 months of minimum credit card payments and a utility bill. The fees on those loans were brutal. We're talking APRs that would make your head spin. I rolled them over twice. By the time I paid them off, those $2,100 in loans had cost me nearly $2,900. I borrowed $2,100 and paid back almost $3,000, and I still didn't have enough to cover the mortgage. Wrong choice number 2, balance transfers. I transferred $9,000 from the Chase card to a new card that offered 0% APR for 15 months. I told myself I'd pay it down aggressively during that promotional window. I made the minimum payment for 15 months, the promotional period expired, and the interest rate jumped to 24.99%. I had moved the problem, not solved it. My credit score, my FICO score, had already dropped from 714 to around 608 just from the new inquiry and the increased utilization ratio. Wrong choice number 3, the 401k. I already mentioned the $22,000 I cashed out early. That's gone. The 10% early withdrawal penalty plus the income taxes that I underpaid, that decision cost me roughly $8,000 in penalties and taxes on top of losing the retirement savings itself. A bankruptcy attorney would later tell me that 401k funds are generally protected in bankruptcy. I gave away protected money trying to avoid a process that might have protected it for free. Wrong choice number 4. Ignoring the IRS notices. The IRS does not go away. Every month I ignored those notices, penalties and interest continued to accrue. What started as a $5,200 tax bill grew to $6,800 by the time I finally faced it. The IRS has collection tools that most creditors can only dream about. You cannot outrun the IRS. Wrong choice number 5. And this one is the one I'll carry the longest. Hiding everything from Karen. I thought I was protecting her. I wasn't. I was protecting myself from her disappointment. And every month I hid it, I made the hole deeper and robbed her of the chance to be my partner in solving it. Turning point. The night I told Karen everything, she did not yell. She did not cry. She sat across the kitchen table from me, read through the foreclosure paperwork, looked at the shoebox full of notices I brought down from the closet, and said, "Okay, what do we do now?" 24 years of marriage. That woman is stronger than I will ever be. The next morning, she called her sister, who had gone through a financial hardship several years earlier. Her sister gave us a name, a nonprofit credit counseling agency, an NFCC member organization, and told us to call before we did anything else. We had our first appointment that Friday. It was free. I didn't know that going in, I expected to be sold something. Instead, a certified credit counselor named Renee sat with us for nearly 2 hours and did something no one had done for me in 18 months. She looked at the actual numbers without flinching. She laid out our options clearly. She explained that given our income level and the amount of secured debt, specifically the mortgage, we were likely looking at either a mortgage loan modification application, a Chapter 13 bankruptcy filing, or, in a worst-case scenario, Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which would not save the house but would discharge most of the unsecured debt and give us a foundation to rebuild. She was very clear. She said, "I'm not a bankruptcy attorney. I can give you information, but for legal decisions of this magnitude, you need to consult a licensed bankruptcy attorney. Many of them offer free consultations." We took that advice. 2 days later, we sat down with a bankruptcy attorney for a free 45-minute consultation. Educational info. Here is what we learned, and I want to share this because I wish someone had explained it to me before I burned through $3,000 on payday loans and drained my retirement account. Chapter 7. Bankruptcy is sometimes called liquidation bankruptcy. It can discharge most unsecured debts, credit cards, medical bills, personal loans, relatively quickly, often within 3 to 6 months. However, Chapter 7 generally does not stop a foreclosure permanently. It can provide a temporary automatic stay, but if saving your home is the goal, Chapter 7 alone is usually not the answer. Also, not everyone qualifies. There's a means test based on your income relative to your state's median. Chapter 13. Bankruptcy is a reorganization plan. You keep your assets, including your home, but you enter a 3 to 5 year court-approved repayment plan. Critically, for someone in our situation, Chapter 13 can allow you to catch up on mortgage arrears over time while keeping the foreclosure at bay. It can also help with IRS tax debt in certain circumstances. Your bankruptcy attorney can tell you which option fits your specific situation. Debt consolidation is another path. Rolling multiple debts into a single loan, ideally at a lower interest rate. This works best for people with still decent credit scores and primarily unsecured debt. It doesn't directly address a foreclosure, but it can reduce the monthly pressure from other debts. Debt settlement is when you negotiate with creditors to pay less than you owe. It can work, but it carries serious risks. It will significantly damage your FICO credit score. The forgiven debt may be taxable as income, and not all creditors will negotiate. Be very cautious of for-profit debt settlement companies. A collection agency contact on your credit report can stay there for up to 7 years. A Chapter 7 bankruptcy stays on your credit report for 10 years. A Chapter 13 stays for 7. Your credit score will drop. There's no way around that. But it is not permanent, and there are structured ways to begin rebuilding. And I cannot say this clearly enough. Consult a licensed professional before making any decisions. a nonprofit credit counselor, a bankruptcy attorney, a HUD-approved housing counselor. These are the right first calls, not a payday lender, not a balance transfer offer in your inbox. Resolution. We filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy in May 2022. The automatic stay stopped the foreclosure sale that had been scheduled for a Tuesday. We entered a 60-month repayment plan. We are currently in month 26. Have we solved everything? No. Our credit scores are low. We can't get a new credit card. Eating out is a rare treat. Tyler knows the truth now, all of it. And honestly, that conversation, as hard as it was, brought us closer than we'd been in years. But we are still in this house. Karen still wakes up in our bedroom. The kids still have their rooms. And every month that I make the Chapter 13 payment, I feel something I hadn't felt in almost 2 years. Forward motion. The mortgage servicer is receiving our arrears through the repayment plan. The credit card debt and the medical bills are being addressed. Our bankruptcy attorney helped us set up a formal IRS installment agreement for the remaining tax debt. Is it perfect? Not even close. But perfect is not what I needed. I needed a floor to stand on. That's what we found. If you are sitting somewhere right now, hiding a shoebox of notices, watching your phone light up with numbers you don't recognize, lying to the person who trusts you most, I need you to hear this. The hiding is always more expensive than the truth. The shame is a liar. There is a way through this, not around it, through it. Your first call doesn't cost anything. A nonprofit credit counselor, a HUD-approved housing counselor, a bankruptcy attorney's free consultation. Make the call before you raid the retirement account. Make the call before the next payday loan. Make the call tonight. You are not the sum of your debt. And this Tuesday doesn't have to be the end of the story. CTA. Download the free debt recovery checklist linked in the description below.